Hey, everybody. Welcome to the side panel. I'm your host, AJ. So we're trying something different again. See, I'm ever experimenting with this show. I don't know, after the panel cast ended, I would still wanted to kind of geek out in my own way and figured this might be a good way to do so. Um, because I go see movies, a ridiculous amount of movies every week. Um, I have the AMC Movie Pass, so I get to see 3 movies a week, and I pay $20 a month. It's kind of cool, except for the fact that AMC is attached to a mall, and so there's a lot of people, and I don't like crowds of people, but I go anyway because it's affordable. Um, and some movies come out on Thursday nights, and I go see them, and I enjoy them. And sometimes, like this week, I get a treat in where I get to use all of my Movie Pass during the week and see some really quality films. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to switch the format. So now the side panel is going to go ahead and continue on in being a movie review podcast. So if you're looking to tune in for some more crazy ideas from my head, well, I'm just going to keep those inside there for now. I may come back every now and then with some ideas, but for the time being, I'm just going to focus on the movie side of things and the reviews. And I promise this show is going to be nice and quick and short and spoiler free as much as humanly possible. So with that, why don't we go ahead and get started? So this week, this is the week of, what is this week? This week is the week of November 5th. It's currently November 9th. My son just turned 24. Happy birthday, Gage. And I was treated to 2 really cool movies this week. The first being The Girl in the Spider's Web and the second in Overlord. But before we even got that far, Tuesday came along. And Tuesday nights over at the Harkins Theater here locally, they do $5 movie classics. They call it, Tuesday night classic films. They show these really awesome movies that you haven't seen in the theater in a long time, and they're only $5. The first one I saw, well, not the first one, but I mean this week's episode was the extended version of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The old spaghetti western film that was put out by Sergio Leone, starring Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef. I don't know if a lot of you have seen that, but if you are old school like I am, you got into the spaghetti westerns, The Man with No Name, Two Mules with Sister Sarah, Hang 'em High. Clint Eastwood was the man, and he came back a couple decades afterwards and was like, I'm going to do Unforgiven, and it was still awesome. So this was the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was originally the third and final installment in what was known then as the Dollars Trilogy, beginning with a fistful of dollars and for a few dollars more. It started Clint Eastwood as this, kind of swindler, but in a good way. Without going too much into detail, I figure you guys have probably seen it right now. If you haven't, well, then you should go and rent it, download it, stream it, something. But I haven't seen this movie personally in about 30 years, and I had never seen it in a theater. So I thought it was a really awesome opportunity to finally see this movie in theater the way it was meant to be. Little did I know that I was seeing the extended version. So I went in to Spaghetti Western for a 3-hour film. 3-hour tour. Not that to say that it's bad. Don't get me wrong. It was a real treat to see this 3-hour version of it. However, I didn't realize that that's what I was in for. And, yeah, it was a lot. It was good. It was, I don't know how to say it. It's classic, man. It's Clint Eastwood spaghetti western classic film. This extended version, however, focused more on Trucco and his story and everything, or Tuco and what he was doing for, and just how much of the ugly he actually encompassed. But still, it was still really cool to see, and I enjoyed it. It was, $5 for a 3-hour movie, classic spaghetti western Clint Eastwood film. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. This film, this character, spawned many classic characters that you saw from then on, cowboy figures. Even spawned a Southern Korean Western film called The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. And it was also real heavy influence in the Dark Tower Gunslinger, Stephen King's crazy novel, um, which he had stated that was a primary influence for the Dark Tower series, and that Eastwood's character specifically inspired the creation of King's protagonist, Roland Deschain. So there's a little bit of trivia if you didn't know it. Anyway, so I got to see it on Tuesday, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm not going to go too deep into it. I'll just say that after 3 hours, I enjoyed the journey, but it needed a commitment. The entire audience I was with, easily over 60 years old, 70 years old, and I mean, it's not that that's bad, but these are the kind of old people that talk during movies, mostly because one of them can't hear, so the other one has to translate loudly. And so that was kind of, you know, fun to see. I mean, sure, it was annoying, but at the same time, you're like, man, this movie affected these people in such a way that here they are in their twilight, walkers, canes, can barely see anything. I mean, if any of their glasses were less than half an inch thick, I would have been surprised. But they still came out to see this movie. And that just is a testament to how great filmmaking was back then. A classic such as this that would inspire these people to come out, you know, hop in the old yellow bus from the old folks' home, take a field trip to the movie theater and see this film. So good for them. Now, the other film I saw this week was The Girl in the Spider's Web. This film, this had to have been a labor of love for the director. Man, I don't know how to come at this. It was directed by Fede Alvarez. I'm not too familiar with his work. Um, he did the remake of Evil Dead and Don't Breathe. But again, I'm not too familiar with his work. Now, The Girl in the Spider's Web. If you guys are familiar with The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was this huge novel phenomenon that came out, let's say, about 10 years ago. And it was based off these books by Stieg Larsson called the Millennium Trilogy. And it starred this character, this computer hacker by the name of Elizabeth Salander, and her friend Michael Bloomquist. And it just, this series, the book series themselves, tell about Elizabeth's adventures and mishaps and all the stuff going on in her life or revolving her life or that she is involved herself into based on what had happened to her at the beginning of the first book, which was a brutal scene that I will not go into too much detail if you had not seen or heard it or read it. So the books spawned this trilogy of films that was done over in Sweden, and they were all done magnificently. They did a great job of filming this trilogy of movie. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, Girl who set the world on fire. I can't remember all of them. there was a few of them in there. Anyway, so they became this phenomenon, and the movies were made, and the movies were done great over in Sweden, and they were you can find them, the original ones, in English dub or subtitle. Girl Who Kicked the Horse. The Girl Who Played with Fire. That's what it was. You can find them anywhere, and they did a great job. Well, then they tried to remake it, and they did that. They remade it in America, and it starred Rooney Mara, who you may be familiar with the Alien Prometheus film. She was the one that had to, staple herself back together. She was the basic heroine of the film. She was also Tiger Lily in that really poorly cast Pan film. the one that saw Hugh Jackman singing Nirvana. My wife likes that film, but she's weird. Anyway, so the remake had Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara, and it was basically an American version of the Swedish film, and even showed brutally what had happened to Elizabeth Salander. And because of what had happened to her in this film, it sets off a chain of events that carries on into the other three novels, three films. Now, unfortunately, because of this incident in the movie, a lot of people were soured by the film. And so because of that, the first film didn't do too well, done by David Lynch, and with fantastic score and everything. And anyway, it didn't do too well, and so the sequels didn't get made, which is unfortunate because I was a huge fan of the film. Once you get past the incident, what comes after is just a really good and well done mystery story. And I'm a sucker for good mystery. So anyway, all the sequel plans for that film got scrapped. And then Stig Larsson passed away, and another writer came in behind him, and David Langencrest, and got the rights to continue Stig Larsson's books, and started with The Girl in the Spider's Web. Flash forward, here we are, 2018, and they have made the film based on that book series, the new Millennium series. Now, here's what gets confusing about the film. It stars Claire Foy as Elizabeth Salander, and a man whose name I'm not even going to bother to try and pronounce. Severir Gudnason, I don't know. And Lakeith Stanfield, which you may remember from Get Out. He was the guy he was the other black guy in the film, I guess the only safe way to say it. And this movie is supposed to be a sequel to the remake Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And so it is. And it's kind of like a poor man's sequel. Now, the movie itself is really good. They did a really good job with the storytelling and everything. But they give away a lot in the trailer. And so when the end happens, you're just like, so? You know, and it's not that it's bad. It's just the journey. The story isn't the journey doesn't live up to the story. I guess, yeah, that makes sense. You're kind of wanting more. You're kind of wishing you didn't know as much going into it, and you're really trying to focus on the gorgeous visuals that the locations where they shot this film is beautiful. And it's all, it's in Stockholm, Sweden, and so everything out there is beautiful and snowy and cold. But anyway, so my opinion is, if you are a fan of the series, go check it out, but you're not going to be too impressed as it being part of that series. Standalone wise, without a few references that they make in the film, it pretty much tells its own story, and so you can get through this film without having seen the other ones. So there's that. My opinion, if you haven't seen a lot of the trailer, or if you have, stop watching it now. Try to ignore it. Go check out the film and forget about what it plays into as far as ties to the other films go. Claire Foy does a good job as Elizabeth Salander, but the film itself feels toned down a bit. It feels like it could have been more gritty, more painful, more gut-wrenching, and I think they just tried to play it safe after what had happened to the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Whether or not we'll see more sequels based off of this film, who knows, but I enjoyed it for what it was. You're going into a film where the only people you may recognize, Claire Foy was just in The First Man, where the Apollo 13 mission. And Lakeith Stanfield, like I said, he was in Get Out. And Stephen Merchant, He's also in this film. Otherwise, you're not going to know anybody else in this film. Everybody else in this film is of Swedish descent. Um, I'm not even going to bother with any of their names because not only can I not pronounce them, but you're not going to recognize any of them. But if you ever saw the movie 13th Warrior, where you didn't know any of the actors except for one, but all the other actors outacted the one actor you did know, then you'll appreciate this kind of film because these guys may not be Hollywood known, but they hold their own in this film. So go check it out, in my opinion. Next up is Overlord. I can't say enough wonderful things about Overlord. I loved this film. Overlord is a horror movie. It takes place on the eve of D-Day back in World War II, where a paratrooper squad is being sent out to Germany to destroy a radio tower at an old church so that all of our forces can land on the beach. And on the way, they get into some shit. and that's just putting it mildly. The film stars nobody you would know other than maybe Bokeem Woodbine. And yeah, I don't think I know anybody. One other guy who is the nerdy guy he plays Fritz on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Otherwise, I don't recognize really anybody. And I'm okay with that. The movie was great. It's set up in a way to where I cannot tell you exactly what it's about. Because if I did, it would give away everything. But what I can tell you is this. Everybody knows that Hitler delved into the supernatural. He was a weird freak about that stuff. And there are tons of side stories and movies and make-believe stuff that incorporate how soldiers would come across some weird freaky shit that Hitler was into. SS Soldiers of the Moon, Werewolf Soldiers of the Moon, stuff like that, vampires, ghosts, zombies, everything. Like Hitler was on all kinds of freaky shit. If you ever played any of the Call of Duty zombie games, stuff like that, you know what I'm talking about. So I'll just say that this film is about some paratroopers that land in the wrong spot, get involved in the wrong shit, and have to deal with some shit that you wouldn't have to want to deal with. And then I'll leave it at that. What I will tell you, though, is that the film was really awesome. The effects were done great. I mean, there's barely any CGI in it. Everything is practical effects, gory, bloody, gushy, nastiness all over the place. If you can see it on like a big format, like an RPX, an IMAX, a DFX, Atmos, something like that, because it really deserves a large format treatment. However, because of movies like Bohemian Rhapsody and what's the other one, The Grinch that just came out, all of those films are going to hog up the big screen, so you may not have that opportunity, which is too bad. But if you get a chance, this is a great film. I wouldn't say horror. I'd say more a horror action, but still done great. It was conceived by J.J. Abrams and screenwriter Billy Ray, and Ray penned the script. It was originally, here's something you may not know, it was originally supposed to be part of the Cloverfield film series. It was supposed to be part 4, and the premise was while they were out fighting all this stuff, one of the tears in the universe happens during World War II, and all these monsters and shit come pouring in. But they realized that was kind of silly, and it would take away from the film itself. So they went ahead and made it its own entity with its own plot and story. I personally kept looking for some Cloverfield references and was disappointed I didn't find any, but I'm a completist like that. If you have a chance, go see this movie. Take your friends. It's a total boy movie. I don't mean that to sound like in a sexist way. I just mean like you and your boys are going to be sitting there cheering on the whole time, like, oh, yeah, like have a beer and some party it up football game type of film. And you guys know what I'm talking about. Aliens, Predator, movies like that, where you're just like cheering and screaming and like badassness all at the same time. Halloween, stuff like that. So, yeah, there you go. It was awesome. So I got treated to 3 films. You guys got treated to 3 reviews. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I'm sorry if I rambled on a bit. I promised 15 minutes. I'm at 20. So I'm going to stop now. And I will see you guys next week when I will be watching and reviewing Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them Part 2. Good night, guys. Okay, one last thing I forgot to mention before I should have stepped out. I was in such a hurry with the time crunch and everything. This is done on the Anchor app, which means you can ask messages and questions and stuff, send messages, ask questions on these podcasts, and I can incorporate them into the show. So if you're listening to this now, being on iTunes or whatnot, try and pick up the Anchor app and listen to it that way. And ask some questions, send some messages my way, and I can address them at the beginning of each episode before I go into the review of that week's episode. If not, you can find me anywhere, forbiddenpanel.com. Find me on Instagram, Twitter, places with socials and stuff. And if there's a movie out there you want me to read, to watch and review, or if you're curious about a film and you have questions about other films that I haven't reviewed yet or talked about, again, shoot me a message, ask me the questions, and I will do it. I'll go see whatever movie you want me to go see, and I will review them here on the show. If you want to go see a horror movie and you're too scared to go by yourself, but you kind of want to macho it out and make it a guy's night, hey, I'm down for that too. Whatever the case may be, let me know, and I'll be right there with you. Okay, guys, one last time. Goodbye, and I'll see you next week.